Hi, this is Imaneo. Welcome to my channel. And as you remember, we are implementing a game using Flutter and Flame game engine. It is called Flappy Dash. And in this episode, we are going to add some responsiveness to the game because we are going to add some new elements. And also we want to run it in the large devices such as desktop devices and also small devices such as Android or iOS. So let's get started. At first, I want to unveil something that I was working on. It's here. So as you see, I created 10 different colors of dashes and I just chose a name for them. And yeah, for example, this is Flutter Dash, this is Violet Dash, this is Rose Dash, this is Lime Dash, that I really like this one. And also we have Scarlet Dash. So we have new dashes and also the names. And I'm going to use them to implement a multiplayer feature in the game. So it's really interesting. First of all, we need to take a look at the design and then we are going to implement it. Yeah, so this is the splash screen and it is very simple. We have an image and also a text here. And here is the home page that when you open the play.flappydash.com, you see this page. We have single player, we have multiplayer, and also this is your profile, and also you can check the source code, and also you can watch the videos that we are recording. And if you click on the single player, we just open the page that we already have. So this is the single player mode. We have the leaderboard and you can rename your display name. And yeah, so this is the flow that we already have. And in the multiplayer, when you click on this button, you are gonna see this page. So this is a page that you are in a lobby of the multiplayer game and you see a countdown. So for example, it says 12 minutes and 43 seconds. So it might be less, it might be more. We need to see how many players do we have. But suppose that it is something that you need to wait until everyone is joined and then you can play the game. And yeah, for example, this is when you are not joined yet. As you see, there's a big button here that allows you to join the game. And you see that the name is here, but you are not inside the list. And when you click here, you see a pop-up and you need to choose a name for yourself. Maybe we need to force the login here because we are not going to allow everyone to join the multiplayer games because of the cost of the server. We need to filter the people that want to join because that way we might have some bots or something like that in the multiplayer game. Maybe we need to filter it out. And yeah, so here you see that you are joined in the players list and this is gonna be your name. It is wrong here, so I'm gonna make it red, and for example it's gonna be Iman. Yeah, it's like this. And then you just need to wait until the game starts after the countdown. And when you are in the game, you see other dashes. So for example, this is you on the center of the page. And also you see other dashes that are playing just like you. And here you have the scoreboard. So here you see that, for example, this person is the first place with 343 scores and you are on the 20th place. So with 3 score, it's gonna be a real-time updating leaderboard in the game session. And oh, I forgot something. We need to have a countdown or something like that. For example, here or here on the top of the page. And it is something that you are allowed to play with the other players. And after that, we show the winners and also the leaderboard. I mean, this is the leaderboard for the session that you were playing. And yeah, this is the first place, second place, and the third place. So, and also here you can click on the play again that leads you to the lobby page and also back to home. And yeah, so this is the concept that I wanted to explain you. Now we can start implementing it. By the way, in this episode, I'm trying a new approach. I'm not going to write the codes. I'm just going to check the commits that I already created in the branch. So this way I can explain you and we can go ahead because writing code for some trivial things is really time consuming and I don't want to have a video which is 1 hour. So I hope this video is much shorter. And yeah, so before that, I want to talk about the issues that we had in the previous episode. As you remember, we couldn't update the nickname properly because we were updating the username. And the better option or solution is to update the display name that is defined in the nakama, and it is exactly for this purpose, because the username is not something that you need to update regularly. It is something that is set when you registered in the app. By the way, I created an issue here because after the video I tried to work with the nakama. For example, I just wanted to update the display name, and when I called the get account, I saw that the display name is null. So this is the test case that we had, and it was not working well. As you see here, we have client.update account, and we just updated the display name, and after 1 second to make sure that everything is sent to the backend and backend is stored it in the database, we just get the account and display name is null. So this was one of the issues that we had in the previous episode, and when I created this issue, the owner came and he said that they had a lot of improvements in the repository, but there isn't a new version. So I just needed to use the repository directly in the dependencies to get the latest updates from the main branch. So that is what I did, and after that everything was resolved. So we just needed to stay on the latest changes and stick to the main branch. Yeah, so at first I'm going to show you the commits that are related for this issue, and then we are going to implement the changes that we have for the new design. And before that, I want to show you something that is related to nakama, as we are talking about nakama. So it's going to become a Unity verified solution. So it's a great news because it's good enough to being a Unity verified solution. And I'm really happy that we are using this technology that is Unity verified. And yeah, so let's get back to the project. And yeah, so I think we can start from here. So this is the last commit that you might remember. We added these dependencies to get the device ID and initialize the session and so on and so forth. And as you see in the next commit, I just said that, this is before the moment that I realized the issue is related to the dependency, and I just checked it on Android and it was working well. And that's why I continued developing it in Android. And then here I realized that, okay, if we change the dependency to the GitHub URL, it's gonna be fixed in the web also. And yeah, so here I just changed the code to update the display name instead of the username. So for example, here you see that we have update display name instead of update username. And also we had a bug here. It was always imaneo, the username, and we just removed it to have the auto-generated user ID, and also the device ID is this one. And also we have get users. So this is for when we retrieve the leaderboard, we don't have access to the display names, and here we can just send a list of user IDs and retrieve the account profiles related to each user. So this way we can show the display name in the leaderboard that we have. And yeah, so also we have the list leaderboard records around owner. So it just returns the records that is submitted by you, and we just need it to show the score on the top left side of the screen. And yeah, so that's it. We have leaderboard entity. As you see, we have a leaderboard record list and also a map of usernames to user profiles. So this way we are able to retrieve the display name from a profile. So we can just send the username here and we can get the profile and show the display name in the UI. And yeah, so there is something interesting here. So as you see, it's a wrapper around a list and also a map that contains the user profiles. And we defined this operator. So it is like something that list has. So you can pass an index and get something from this object. So it works like a list, but it is not a list. It is overridden this operator. And for example, when you say, okay, give me the record and also the display name for index 0. So at first it gets the record from this list, and also it gets the profile from the owner ID, that is the user ID. And then it returns the record and also the showing name or the display name. And this way we are able to show the user display name in the leaderboard. And in the page that we are showing, where is that leaderboard dialog? Yeah, it's here. As you see, instead of getting access to the records of a leaderboard record, we are going to get access to the leaderboard entity that we have in our qubit, and we just get the record and also the name from the index that we have. And as you see, name is something that we are going to show here instead of the username and owner ID. And yeah, so I'm just going to show you the repository that we have. As you remember, we had a function that is for get leaderboard, and now it just retrieves the leaderboard that we have a record list, and then we get the IDs from the list that we have. For example, we map the records to the owner IDs, and then we ask Nakama to give us the profiles for these user IDs. And then we can create the leaderboard entity that you already got familiar with it, and we can just put the list and also the user profiles inside it, and we can show it in the dialog that we have for the leaderboard. And here we have a minor rename, it is not important. And here we have something important, which is refresh leaderboard when user updates the name. And as you see here, we just added this line. So this is a private method that updates the leaderboard. It just gets the leaderboard from the repository, and we just added it here. When you update your username, the leaderboard is gonna be updated. And here is a simple change. I'm going to explain you the most important ones. Show rename dialog when user clicks on profile overlay. Yeah, again, it's a simple one. We just show the rename dialog when you click on the profile overlay on the top left side of the screen. And reuse escort trophy, remove hard-coded value, refresh leaderboard after submitting a score. So it is like the previous one that you saw. We have game over and we have submit a score. I just move it here, and then we just refresh the leaderboard, just like what we do when you update the username. So we can reuse this logic to refresh the leaderboard whenever something is changed that is related to the leaderboard, and we can just call this refresh leaderboard. And we have a simple change here. We just moved the audio helper initialization logic to the splash screen because it was preventing the game from running. As you see here in the onload, we had initialize, that is an async job, and we were waiting for the audio helper, and we saw a black white screen in the game. And I just moved it to the splash qubit. So here we have 2 seconds to do this kind of jobs. So it's better to have it here. And we have set lazy to false for the game qubit. So as you know, in the block, by default, all the blocks are, or all the qubits are lazy. So lazy is true. So if it is true, it waits until you want to use them, and it's not going to be created when you don't touch it. But in our case, we have an initializer that is going to run on the constructor of the game qubit, and we set the lazy to false, so it means that it's gonna be created when the app starts, and in that moment it's gonna initialize itself. And yeah, so here we have a logic to prevent the updating score 0. If you don't get any score, it is returning and it doesn't call the submit score. And it's a simple bug fix. Yeah, so the other important commit is this one. So here we just upgraded the nakama from using a version to using the repository and the path. So this is the directory that is inside this repository. And this way we get the latest changes from the repository instead of the version. And it solved all the issues on the web. And we have some changes here. Yeah, as you see, record.rank is not an integer anymore. I don't know why, but they changed it to a string, and that's why we needed to have int.tryparse to parsing them to integer values, because our, for example, trophy is working with the rank as integer, not a string. And for example, here we had the same. So rank is a string, we need to parse it. And also the records are nullable now, so we needed to do a hard null check here. And yeah, so I just added the server key that we have in the flow that we built the web. So with this code, we can just set the nakama server key from the secrets that we have in the GitHub. And Yeah, so these are the changes that I did today or yesterday. Yeah, these are in the README. I just updated the images for the previous episodes. And yeah, so now let's play the game. It is in play.flappydash.com. And as you see, my name is Explorer here, and you can play the game. It is working well, and here you see the leaderboard. Oh yeah, I see 8 people are using the game, and for example, I can just rename my name to something else. Oh, it is 12 characters, something else. And yeah, you see that it is getting updated in the leaderboard. And yeah, for example, also we can update it from here. For example, my test 2. And if you check the leaderboard, you see that it also gets updated here. And now you can just pause the video and open the play.flappydash.com. You can play the game, and also you can submit your score. You can rename your name. And in the next episode, we are gonna check the leaderboard to see who has the highest score. And yeah, so let's take a look at the design that we had and also the changes that we have. I'm going to change my branch to part 14, I think. Yeah, so we have part 14 temp, so it is a temporary commit or temporary branch, and this is the changes that we have starting from here to here. Yeah, so these are the changes that we are going to take a quick look. And before that, I want to show you the final result that we have. Yeah, so this is the result that I just implemented, and I'm going to show you the commits that we have. We have hover effect for these two buttons here and here, and when you click, the rename dialog shows, and it should work well. For example, I do this and it just updates the name. And the single player is the page that we already have, and here is the leaderboard. I think it is connected to the local nakama that we have, that's why we don't see the other records here. And yeah, also we have the GitHub button, so if you click here, it just opens the source code. And we have multiplayer, so if you click here, you see that here we have a list of players that are joining, and we have the join button. By the way, I didn't implement any logic here. We have just UIs that are time consuming, so I just implemented all of them. Yeah, so we have something interesting here. I'm using device preview. So if you enable it, you see that you can check the app in different phones and different devices. For example, in a small device, it looks like this. In medium device, in Samsung Galaxy A50. And yeah, so it's a great tool that allows you to take a look at the app in different sizes and different screens. And it is called device preview or something like that. Yes. As you see here, you just need to add it to the dependencies that you have, and you just need to wrap the application with device preview, and you can disable it in the production mode. And here you just need to add the device preview.app builder to the material app that you have. And yeah, so after that, you can have access to the tools that they are provided to check the responsiveness of the app. For example, I can just check it in the Windows devices, and I can show the frame visibility. For example, it is a laptop and it is a monitor, so it's a very cool tool that you can use. For example, this is how it looks like in Linux environment. And yeah, so as you see, everywhere it looks good. So it's because I wrote a lot of code to check the screen size and decrease the components based on the screen size that we are running on. So let's take a look at the commits. At first we have this one that is some basic logics. I should move it to up here, but I'm going to do it later. As you see, I just wrote a reminder for myself. And yeah, so let's get a start with the Go router. I just added Go router to be able to have some deep links in the application. For example, we have a splash, it starts from here. We have homepage that is just the slash. We have single player that opens the single player page. We have lobby that opens the multiplayer lobby page, and we have the multiplayer match that wants a match ID to work. And these are just simple pages that I created. I can show you. For example, this is the lobby page. You see a text and a button, and this is the home page. Again, it's a very simple widget. And in here I just implemented the homepage UIs. So as you see, I defined some widgets. For example, big button. Big button is this one, the button that we have here. So we have a base class for it, and it can show a child. It can have the unpressed, background color, and the stroke color. So for example, here we have different background color and also the stroke color. And inside that we are using the outline button. And we have a blurred background. So we have the blurred background image, and it is on the background side. So it's just an image. We don't do any crazy things here. It is just an image that we show it behind everything. And yeah, also we have the outline text. As you know, we don't have the stroke feature for the text. As you see here, we have a stroke around the text that we have, or here, for example. And to do that, I needed to do a trick. So it is a stack that we have two texts on top of each other, and the bottom one has a larger size, and it is something like this, but it just adds the stroke width and stroke color to the text that we have. And yeah, so these are the buttons, and that's it. We just implemented the home page, and in the next one we added some responsiveness logic to the home page, and we defined a new concept here. I defined the screen size, so it's an enum. We have extra small, medium, large, and extra large. And we have a helper method. It is from context, and if you pass the context, it gives you a screen size. And then, for example, you can check the screen size that the app is running on, and you can increase or decrease the widget sizes that you have. And these are the breakpoints that we have. For example, if it is less than 400, it is extra small. If it is less than 600, it is small, and so on and so forth. So this is the logic. We check if it is less than extra small, it is extra small, and so on and so forth. And for example, in homepage, we are getting the screen size and passing it to the game title and watch on YouTube widget. So as you see, we have game title that is just this one, and we say have a switch statement on the screen size and return the font size based on the screen size that you are running on. For example, if you are on extra small, return 32 as the font size. If you are on a screen that is large or extra large, return 112. And we have the same for stroke width. And for example, if you see, if we run it on a smaller device, the font size gets decreased, and if it is on a large device, it is bigger. And yeah, so here we just added the GitHub source code button. As you see, we have the button here, and if you click, it opens the source code. And it is here GitHub button, so it is just a SVG picture and also a text, and we have the same logic here. So for example, we said icon size is this one, so we have a switch statement. If it is extra small, the icon size is 28. If it is small, it is 32, otherwise it is 48. So we change the icon size based on the screen width that we have, and we do the same for the padding and also the font size. And we just added it in the home page, so it is top right. Later we added the profile here and moved it to the left side. And yeah, so here we added the URL launcher. So as you know, URL launcher is used to launch a URL or open a URL, and I used it to open the YouTube page and also the GitHub page. And yeah, as you see here, we added some improvements in the home page related to the responsiveness. So we have button, we have game title. I just adjusted the values, and here we added the ease loading property to the big button that we have. As you remember, we have a button that is here, and also we used it here, and it has ease loading, and if you set it true, you see the loading here instead of the text. And we need to use it later when we want to join a game and communicate something with the backend. And here we just open the single player and multiplayer page. When the user clicks on the buttons, it's simple. We just use context.go here and here. And here we just implemented some basic UIs for the lobby page. So as you see, we have a stack, we have the blurred background, and also we have some, for example, game title. We have a simple container. Later we are going to replace the container with this box that you see here. And we have the watch on YouTube widget. And again, we added some adjustments for the responsiveness. And here I think we are done with the multiplayer lobby page, and we just added the transparent content box. We created a widget that is this one. This is the transparent content box, and we have the pending match box that is using the transparent box that we already created. And yeah, so it is using a grid view to add the players that we have here, and if there is no space to show all of them, it's gonna be an scroll level widget. And yeah, so this is the transparent content box that I said you. And yeah, we have the dash player box, which is this one, each individual item of players that we have here. And it is just a row with a picture and also a text. So it's very simple. And here we just added the back button in the single player and multiplayer pages. And if you take a look, you see that we have the back button here. And before that, we had the profile and also the leaderboard buttons here, but we moved them to the right, and now we have the back button here. And yeah, so here we added the device preview. If you take a look at the PubSpec file, you see that we have device preview in the dependencies, and also in the main page we just added the device preview here. We just wrapped the main app with the device preview, and we added some improvements for the responsiveness because we realized that it is not working well in some devices. So these are just improvements, for example, app title top padding. Yeah, and here we just disable the resizing when the keyboard opens. And as you know here, for example, if you run it on the device, you can open the virtual keyboard. And before that, it was changing the structure of the page when the keyboard was opening. I just disabled that, and now the keyboard opens without changing the layout structure of the game. Also, we disabled the landscape mode because we designed the game based on the portrait mode. Maybe later we can add the landscape mode. And again, we added some responsiveness to the game. So we just modified some numbers. And yeah, so as a result, you see that we have support for all kind of the devices that you can imagine. So you can check it on all the different devices that we have, and it is working well. And yeah, so we have other properties here. For example, we have text scaling, and some part of the UI is not working well with this change. It's okay because it really takes a lot of time to make it compatible with these changes. But for now, we just go ahead with the text scaling of 1. And it has some cool features, for example, something for accessibility. And you can change the background color. Yeah, so we don't support dark mode and light mode, but if we were supporting it, you could change the theme here, and also you can change the locale here to see how does the app look like in different locales. And yeah, so I think we are done with this episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe the channel and share it with your friends. And stay tuned for the next video. I think it is the final episode that we are going to implement the multiplayer. And I think after that we are done with the Flappy Dash game. So stay tuned. Bye.